Steve, what attracted you to commercial real estate?
Simply stated, I saw unlimited opportunity, the chance to work in a vibrant, dynamic industry. How about you?
You know, for me, it was that aha moment of connecting a user with an investor. Throughout my career, I've been privileged to work with both. The users, the people who will occupy the space, and the investors, the people who make the investments in those properties. I like the challenge of discovering what the users really need to reach their business goals while still helping the investors reach their investment objectives.
Like what? What are some of those objectives?
Well, you know, users want space that meets the needs of their business in terms of the location, the size, the layout of the space, the quality of the building, and perhaps they want to locate it to other businesses that might be suppliers or customers. Users will be concerned about the occupancy costs of the space, which depends to a large extent on the terms of the lease. For some users, they could be faced with the choice to own or lease their space. Deciding how to use the space is a use decision, and deciding to own the space they use is an investment decision, which, like any other investment, must provide an adequate return on their investment because that company could be using the capital for other purposes. I really enjoy helping the users with those key decisions during the acquisition, the holding period, and the disposition phases of commercial real estate occupancy.
Yes, there are a lot of acquisition decisions users have to consider. For example, what type and how much space should be acquired? And of course, where should that space be located? Which space is the best for their needs? And this is a common one. Should they lease or should they own? And naturally, all these decisions can be summarized with, what's the most efficient process for space acquisition?
Exactly. Then during the holding period, if it's a lease space, the user should be asking, should I make any capital expenditures to improve my space? Do I need to make any changes in how I use my space? Should I continue to occupy the space? Or should any lease options be exercised? Given the market changes, should my lease be renegotiated? And if I need to move, could that space be disposed of?
Great points. And if the space is owned, how about that?
More questions. Should I make any capital expenditures to improve the space? Should the debt and equity structure be changed? Should I change the way I use the space? Should I continue to occupy this space or seek space elsewhere? And finally, should the property be sold or exchanged?
And then the user needs to evaluate the process of pricing and selling the property. It's a lot to consider.
Well, there's even more to think about. How about the investor's perspective?
Right. I've worked with many investors over the years, as well as being an investor myself. To me, the biggest consideration is return on investment, or yield. In other words, how much money am I going to make on this deal? So investors look at the rate of return, the percentage return on each dollar invested for the period it's invested on a before or after-tax basis.
Well, Steve, how do investors measure a good return?
Great question. It depends on the investor's risk tolerance or the balance of risk in their portfolio. It's the risk-reward concept. Higher risk may lead to higher returns.
So investors encounter many of the same questions that users consider, right?
Absolutely. Both users and investors have to make decisions about acquiring, owning, and disposing of real estate.
Over my career as a commercial real estate professional, I've worked with hundreds of users, and there's nothing more satisfying than helping a client find that perfect space to launch or grow a business.
Agreed. And when an investor makes a commitment to that space and sees a return on the dollars invested and sees a business thrive in that space, my job as a commercial real estate professional is really rewarding.
You know the best decision I made? Investing in my career development with CCIM Institute.
Yeah, me too. Huge return on my investment today and into the future.